Welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I'm Peter Gross, co-host of the original Wild Kingdom with Marlin, Perkins, and Jim Fowler. When Wild Kingdom aired in the 1960s and 70s, many episodes documented wildlife research efforts. Marlin and Jim accompanied scientists all over the world to observe animals and their natural behaviors. Some of the techniques you'll see in tonight's episodes are no longer necessary by today's standards, but the work is still just as important. Wild Kingdom took viewers to the far corners of the world and cultivated an appreciation for animals and their habitats. Marlin and Jim showed us the importance of preserving the natural world, not just for animals, but for our quality of life. And that's good news for all of us in the Wild Kingdom. So sit back and enjoy Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom is presented by Mutual of Omaha.
Welcome to Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. Trailing an animal in the wild is usually difficult and time-consuming. But Stan Brock and I took part in the test of a tracking system that promises to make the job much easier. The system uses a combination of sophisticated radio equipment and two very specialized methods of transportation. It was developed by scientists of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service and the University of Minnesota, who were studying one of America's most majestic animals, the moose. They invited Stan and me to join their research project.
To follow the movements of individual animals, the system calls for temporarily immobilizing each moose with a tranquilizer gun, and then attaching color-coded ear tags and neck bands so that the animal can be instantly recognized. Then, to help in tracking the moose, a special radio collar is fitted, containing a tiny transmitter in here, along with the batteries required to operate it. Wherever the animal roams, this collar sends out a powerful electronic signal that researchers can pick up.
To follow that signal through the ice and snow of the moose's winter range, the plan was to use radio-equipped snowmobiles and helicopters. It seemed an ideal tracking system, and we were eager to help test it. The study was being conducted in the Agassiz National Wildlife Refuge in northwestern Minnesota, not far from the Canadian border. This refuge is ideal for moose, with mile after mile of swampland and shallow pools, frozen now and covered with deep snow. So far, we haven't found a bull moose to use in our tracking test, and pilot Heine Jan will rendezvous with another search helicopter at our base camp on the far shore of this shallow marsh. We're not the only ones heading for camp. Stan's been test driving a snowmobile. It's an ideal way to travel over the ice-covered ponds and deep drifts of the refuge. And we plan to equip a snowmobile with radio gear to use in our experiment today. These vehicles are fast and maneuverable, and they'll give us the mobility we need to track a bull moose from the ground. It's suspected that the big bulls travel the farthest as they roam through their range, and that's why the project director, wildlife research biologist Bob Phillips, wants to use a bull for our test of the radio tracking system. Bob will gain an important research tool if the system works. He's already placed these neck bands on many moose, using different colors and patterns to identify individuals. But the best way to follow an animal's movements may be with this radio collar. The concealed battery-operated transmitter will send a strong signal through the antenna, which is threaded around the collar. By picking up the signal, Bob plans to pinpoint the moose's location wherever it wanders. Before the second helicopter arrives, we'll investigate an area of dense trees that Stan discovered. It's a likely moose habitat.
Moose often seek areas of heavy brush in the winter for good browsing and protection from the bitter winds that sometimes blow across these open ponds. We're nearing the place where the bulrushes give way to trees, a place where we hope to find moose. Driving our snowmobiles closer would only alert any animals in the area. We'll leave them here and continue on foot. There's no sign of moose, but other tracks crisscross the snow. There, in the trees ahead, a white-tailed deer.
There are many of them here. In winter, deer lose their solitary habits and band into groups. It's called yarding, and we've discovered a yarding area. The deer will probably remain in this sheltered place till the frigid weather eases. We've seen plenty of deer, but no sign of moose. A snowshoe hare is almost invisible on a drift ahead. Its camouflage protecting it from foxes and coyotes. This yarding area is full of deer. They're all very nervous about our presence, and we'll head back for camp. Moose don't seem to have the same yarding tendency in winter as deer. Moose spread out, and the job of finding a solitary bull is much more difficult. In summer, these swampy areas are perfect for moose. The water below this ice is only 4 or 5 feet deep, and the animals wade into it to graze on water plants. But now we're more likely to find them in the heavy brush and trees. It's time to go up again in the helicopter and resume our search. Bob will join us on this trip as we fly over a new area, combining our tagging project with an aerial survey of the moose population here in the refuge. These population counts are taken every winter, when it's easier to spot the moose against the white snow. The second helicopter is waiting, and we've got plenty of daylight left. Bob's brought along our capture gear. And if we find a bull during our survey, we'll dart him.
My job is to survey the northern sector, an area Jim Morton knows well. With 2 helicopters, we have a good chance of finding our bull.
Our first job was to take an aerial survey of the moose population. The helicopters made the job of counting moose much easier.
We'll scout one area, while Marlin and Bob take another. This entire refuge is divided into large squares on a grid map, and the moose are counted from the air, 1 square at a time. There's our first animal, dark against the glaring snow, and it's a bull. We'll drop lower for a good look. Judging from his antlers, he's a mature animal, and it could be a good possibility for our tracking experiment. We're moving over some other refuge animals. Elk. This is the only elk herd in Minnesota, and they seem to be thriving here. Bob wanted us to make a fast count of the herd if we spotted it. The animals are all in good condition. They must be feeding well. So far, we've spotted only one moose, but Jim's following fresh tracks below. There's the animal. This is a young bull, another good candidate for our radio collar. He looks strong and healthy, and we should have no trouble finding him again. He isn't likely to wander far from the heavy brush below. It seems to be an area the moose favor. There's another one, a cow with her calf. You often see them with twins. We're flying over a part of the refuge where the good browsing attracts many animals. A white-tailed deer moving through the trees. We're nearing the end of our survey, and there's the last moose in our area. This is another young bull, and he's the largest of the three. The best choice we've seen. Marlin has spotted only cows in his area, so we'll lead the way to our last bull. Once we guide the other ship to the moose, Bob will try to dart it from the air, immobilizing it before we land to attach the radio collar. We're getting close, and we'll give the other copter room to maneuver for a shot with the capture gun.
There he is, running through the brush. He's in fairly open country, and that should make him an easier target. To be sure of the aim, you have to get close. When he turns, it's difficult to stay with him, but Heine's doing a good job of keeping us in position, and we're almost near enough for a shot. Just a little lower. The dart's in, and the drug should take effect very soon, immobilizing the animal.
The whole idea now is to stay with the moose until he goes down. We won't have much time once the drug begins working. In this intense cold, there would be danger of the moose freezing if he were immobilized too long, so Bob's given it only a very light dose. We'll land quickly when the big bull drops. There'll only be minutes to get the collar on before he's back on his feet again.
He's slowing down quite a bit, and it shouldn't be much longer. He's down. We've got our moose, and we'll soon know whether our tracking system works. We are hovering over the darted moose, and he's completely immobilized. Now we can land and attach the radio collar. The light dose the moose received won't last for long, so our work here must be done quickly. The pilots will keep the rotors turning so we can lift off in a hurry if we have to. The drug robs him of muscular control of his legs, but he's wide awake, and even though he can't get up, you've got to respect those antlers. It was a perfect shot, placed well in the flank. Because the moose is so lightly immobilized, we must use some physical restraint to control the animal. With Stan holding the antler and Bob's weight on the back, the big bull can barely move. The main problem in working with these small doses is that the drug may wear off sooner than you expect. The moose is breathing well and showing no ill effects. The radio collar is held together with nuts and bolts. The antenna is covered with tape, and the radio is waterproof. He is getting his strength back, and we don't want to be anywhere in the area when he's able to stand. This identification band will help in visually spotting the animal as it moves through the refuge.
You can feel him regaining control. We've only minutes left before he gets up.
Good. The collars are on, and all that remains is to attach ear streamers to make the moose even easier to spot. They're clamped through the ear, but he doesn't feel any pain. This is a low sensitivity area in these animals. That does it. Bob will make one measurement for his records, the width of the antlers. This may not be the biggest bull in the refuge, but we've made him the most conspicuous. Now the final phase of this project begins. Stan's copter will take off first as we split into two teams. Stan's job is to rendezvous with the radio-equipped snowmobile several miles from here. The moose is free again, and he'll soon be roaming through his range. But if that radio collar works, as we hope it will, researchers will be able to locate him wherever he goes. For a good test of the system, our plan is to fly far from this area, losing the moose completely. Then we'll try to locate him from the radio signal.
If the transmitter is working properly, the signal should reach us here miles from the capture site. Ken Baito has delivered the snowmobile right on time. The idea is to find the moose again, following its electronic trail with the snowmobile. The whole system is based on the directional antenna, which should point the way to the moose wherever he roams. We're getting a strong signal, the colors transmitting perfectly. Following the signal should lead me right to the moose. The reception was strongest when the antenna was pointed across the marsh. Now it's a simple matter to recheck the moose's location. The antenna pulls in a good signal only when aimed directly at the transmitting moose. By watching the receiver needle for the maximum reception, you can actually point the way to the animal. That's the best. And as long as the signal comes in strong, I'll know I'm heading toward the moose. The radio trail is leading off the ice and into an area of heavy brush. It seems to be getting stronger. That means I'm closing the gap between the animal and me. It worked like a charm. There was no mistaking the red and yellow neckband. That was our moose. Now it's the helicopter's turn to follow the signal. The project won't be a total success unless we can also track the moose from the air.
Ground tracking has one serious drawback. You must alter course for the terrain, especially in summer when the marshes thaw. Tracking by air will be much faster and easier if it works. We're getting a good signal. Now we simply aim the helicopter to get the strongest reception. The signal's increasing in strength. We're right on target. There he is. When more moose are radio tagged, each will transmit on a separate channel so they can be followed individually. We know now that they can be tracked from land or air. The color transmitter should keep sending for a year or more, revealing a great deal about the moose's habits and travels, as researchers follow it from air or land. The radio tracking system is a success. We proved it on the trail of the moose. Stan and I assisted Bob Phillips as he darted several more moose and fitted them with radio collars. The animals were all tracked easily. The information being gathered in this project may one day help to protect the moose from the pressures of expanding civilization. Today, that pressure is being felt even in the Agassiz National Wildlife Refuge itself. Commercial and agricultural interests are seeking the refuge land for their own private use. But our wildlife heritage belongs to all of us, and the National Wildlife Refuge system is dedicated to preserving it. We must all support the work of those who protect what little remains of the beauty and wonder that are ours in the wild kingdom.
Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Like what you saw? Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more exclusive content. And visit our website at wildkingdom.com.